Alright, here we are for lesson 6. This is going to be page 24 and page 25 in Alfred's Basic Adult Piano Course Level 1. So, top of 24, melodic intervals. Distances between notes are measured in intervals called seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, eighths, ninths, tenths, 11ths, 12ths, 13ths, 14ths, 15ths, 16ths, and more. And the interval is just simply a degree of distance. It's all we use it for is measuring how far one thing is from another. You can, whatever's easiest for you, you can equate it to centimeters, millimeters, inches, feet, miles, kilometers, anything that makes you understand distance. And they are multi-directional. The distance can be measured from the bottom going up or from the top going down. It's not going to change it. It's important to know what direction you're going and what the interval is, but you can measure them going both directions. So on the top of page 24, you have C, D, C, E, C, D, C, E. And what it's saying is under the CD, it says second. So from C to D is a second. That's just the interval of a second. From C to E is a third. It's the interval of a third. But if you look at it on the piano, the second is right next to each other. The third skips a note. Now let's look at the next half of that line, where it's bass clef, G, F, G, E, G, F, G, E. And above the G and the F, it says second. Now look at G and F are right next to each other, just like C and D were. And then G to E, it says is a third. But if I play both of them at the same time, you'll notice there's a note between them, just like our C to E was earlier in this song. So that two consecutive notes is a second. When I skip a note, that's a third. Now, we're playing these notes individually, not at the same time. And when you play them individually, that's called a melodic interval, because the individual notes played separately form a melody. So let's play the song. You can pause now and play the very top line. It has a repeat sign, so pause it. Alright, hopefully you paused it. I'm going to play it. This is the song at the top of page 24. Alright. Clair de la Lune. Okay. The following excerpts contain only repeated notes and melodic seconds and thirds. But the big box in pink in the middle of page 24 says dynamic signs tell you how loud or soft to play. And the first one we learn is P, which is piano, which means soft. So for Clair de la Lune, you are going to use your soft playing skills. And remember, in the beginning of this book, in lesson 1, we talked about playing softly by thinking of using less weight. And that is accurate, but I also think of it, in addition to being less weight, is being fast or slow. Because if I play this same note slowly, my depression of the key isn't as fast as when I want to play. Yes, I'm using more weight in my hand, and that is an accurate description of how to play loud and soft. But I also like the thought of slower and faster depression of the key. But when you're playing soft, one thing to make sure, on an acoustic piano, it is possible to put a note down so gently it doesn't make any noise. And that's not the goal. That is not correct. So, you want to just gently play the note. But the other thing to pay attention to is getting all the way to what's called the bottom of the key bed. Because if I just go till I hear the note, I don't know how good this is picking up. I'll try it with my left hand. Alright. You can see I've played a note, but watch my thumb. It still had more distance to travel. So, that one too. Make sure you're pressing all the way to the bottom of the key bed. Anyways, Au clair de la lune, the middle of page 24. The dynamic marking is in the beginning, and it applies for the whole song until you get a new dynamic marking. But right now we have piano for the whole piece. And there's a repeat sign, and it's right hand only, left hand has whole rests. Now, some teachers will let you put your left hand wherever you want, check your Twitter. It's a good practice, especially when you're reading the grand staff with left and right hand together, to put your left hand there even though it's not going to do anything. It's just the habit we want to form. You get good at what you practice. Alright, now let's look at the next song, Tisket a Tasket. Some people might be familiar with this being a jazz standard from years ago, and some very, very notable singers have sung it as well. But we learned a new dynamic marking. This one is called Metzl Forte. It means moderately loud or medium loud. It's not, that's too much. But if this is soft, medium loud, it's going to be around here, because if you have medium loud, you could also have medium soft. It just takes soft. So think of your dynamics as how much contrast can I make? Because if I came out and played, that was the loudest I played, and that was the softest I played, there's not a lot of difference there. But if I came out and I played, that contrast really gives you something to listen for and things to pick up. Maybe something big is coming. Maybe there's this big swell. Everything's getting intense. And then it stops and there's something pretty. So dynamics are used to build tension and release and make you feel different things with music. So, moderately loud, tisket a tasket, bass clef, no repeat sign. Pause it and practice. Alright, we're going to do this. Medium loud, Metzl Forte, left hand. Alright, so in the middle of page 24 it says the following excerpts contain only repeated notes in melodic seconds and thirds. So let's just analyze that real quick. From G to E, well, we learned up here is a third. E to F is a second, F to G is a second, G to E is a third, E to F is a second, F to G is a second, G to G is a repeated note, G to E is a third, G to F is, or E to F is a second, F to G is a second, E to G is a third, E to F is a second, F repeated, F to D is a third, D to F is a third, F repeated, down to D is a third. Here is one part they missed. This is a little bit bigger than a third, the D to G. That's technically called a fourth, but we'll learn that in the next lesson. But from G to F is a second, F to E is a second, E to D is a second, D to C is a second. So page 25, measuring melodic seconds and thirds. The distance from any white key to the next white key up or down is called a second. So if we take that in its basic form, only looking at the white keys, I'm going to tell me when to stop. Yeah, I didn't hear you. So I'll pick a time. I'll stop here. So from this note, going to the next white key up or the next white key down, it's the same distance. It's called a second. Now later on we'll learn of different qualities of seconds, and that's not what we're worried about today. But we just want to look at it in its basic function. Two white keys next to each other is called a second. And if you're looking at them on the music, one will be on a line with the note head and the line right through it, and the other will be on a space where the two lines will be above and below the note head. So seconds go from line to space, up or down, or from space to line, up or down. Now remember at the top of page 24 you had C, D, and then C, E. Well, C to E is a third, and when you skip a note in between with the white keys, that's called a third. So I can take the same formula, moving up or down, and those are all thirds, because they all have a note between them. Those are all thirds. But remember, you play them separately, it's called a melodic interval. So at the bottom half of page 25 is a whole worksheet for you to fill out. Go ahead and pause this, and then I will give you all the answers when you unpause or resume playing. Alright, so it says in the top box, write if the interval goes up or down. And we're reading this left to right. So you're going to write in the top box if it goes up or down. And then in the lower box, you're going to say if it's a second or a third. If it is the same note, you're going to write same note. But I'm sure that doesn't happen a majority of the time because we want to practice seconds and thirds. So hopefully you've filled all this out, and I'm going to go through it. The first one they gave you, it's up a second. The second one is down a third. Next is up a second, down a third, up a third, down a second. Moving on to the next line. Up a third, down a second, up a second, up a second, down a third, same note to finish out line 2. Line 3, bass clef. Up a second, down a third, up a second, down a third, up a third, down a second. Line 4, page 25. down a third, up a third, up a second, down a third, up a second, same note to finish out page 25. Well, that's the end of this lesson. I hope you dug it, and come back, practice, and if you have any questions, let me know. I will do my best to answer them. Thank you. Page 24. Page 25.